Marnie, could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Mark Gregg.
Here.
Councilmember Elizabeth Jolin.
Here.
Councilmember Henry Rosenthal.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sharon Mahoney.
Here.
And Mayor Buddy Pinder.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All righty. So, Mr. Horton, can you lead us in the pledge, please?
Every time. You're so fast. No, I'm good.
All right, so before we get going with our workshop here, we'll say a quick prayer and we'll get rolling. Lord, we thank you for this awesome day that you have bestowed upon us today. We thank you for all the beauty here, the water, the trees, the birds, just everything here, the beauty that we're surrounded by, the mangroves, and we just ask your blessing upon each one of us up here tonight, and we ask your blessing over interviewing these candidates, and we thank you again for this awesome day that you have made. Let us rejoice in it. In your name we pray. Amen. All righty. So, Evie, I think I turn this over to you, right?
Good evening. So first I want to go over what you have in front of you. I also provided binders for the public as well. You have all 9 candidates that are still in the running, and in each tab, behind each tab, you have a blank copy of the questions. Feel free to make notes on those as you go through. In the pocket, you have a list of the candidates with a deadline of turning in your top 5 candidates to me via email or text no later than Thursday, November 16th, close of business. So that's all on the pamphlet on the inside, as well as at the bottom. From what I'm hearing from council, they picked a week last council meeting, and those would be the days of the interviews. The tentative days would be Wednesday, January 17th and Thursday, January 18th. So that's what you have in front of you. So I want to start by thanking everyone for coming to our village manager interview workshop. All of the candidates have been briefed on the format of the interview and the public nature of it. I will be monitoring the time and do my best to stay on schedule. There will be no additional questions asked by the village council. If there is a candidate you would like to know more about or that piques your interest, take that as an indicator to mark that candidate as one you would like to invite down for in-person interviews. As I already stated, your top 5 candidates need to be submitted to me via email or text no later than close of business, Thursday, November 16th. Tentatively, I have scheduled in-person interviews for Wednesday, January 17th and Thursday, January 18th. This is a no-action meeting, but if time allows and it is the will of the village council, public comment may be taken at the end of the meeting. Allison, did you have anything to add? Okay. Are there any questions?
Council, any questions for Evie or for Allison or anything? Okay.
Well, I have one comment. We seem to me, we're putting off the decision. I know we discussed it at the last meeting, but it just seems to be a delay that's being imposed, I guess, because a lot of people can't be here. The most important thing that I would think of outside of your Christmas and family would be the meetings, and move this thing on and not do it in January or whatever. I may not have any support to look at this for one more time, but you asked me for a comment, that's my comment. Okay. I think we should try to move it forward well in advance of January. But anyway, that's my opinion. That's all I'm going to say. So.
Thank you, Henry. Anybody else have anything? No? Okay. Okay.
Okay, so our first candidate is on. He really wasn't slated to start till 5:45, but I guess we can start right now. Just to let you know, all of the candidates have been briefed about this being a public meeting and that they can jump on at 5:30 and view everything that's going on. That's the public nature of this. The individuals, we did have 3 individuals withdraw. One was over public records concerns. One did not state reasons why, and one was unavailable for this session, and would like to be considered potentially if we do another intro interviews. So, all right. Okay, so our first candidate today is Douglas Maxeiner.
Here.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. So if you could go ahead and start with giving us a little bit of an intro.
Sure. My name's Doug Maxeiner. I have been in local government in Illinois for 32 years, 21 of those years as a CAO, either as a manager or administrator. I've worked in a variety of communities from about 7,000 population up to about 150,000 people, and done a variety of things. I think probably my biggest area of specialty is in finance. That's where I cut my teeth. But we have grown into organizational development and really moving organizations forward. That's what I think my specialty is at this point. So I have been married for 32 years. I've got 2 adult children, and I just retired from the Illinois municipal retirement system based on some idiosyncrasies of that. It was worth my while financially to get out while the getting was good and to look for some other opportunities. So here I am chatting with you tonight.
Thank you. So I did provide you with the questions, so we're going to start with number 1. What are the top 3 challenges facing Islamorada, in your opinion?
Well, again, this is all as an outsider looking in, but number 1, I think, would be the functionality of the board. I think I've heard several members of the city council, the village council, comment on the dysfunctional nature of the board without the ability to work cohesively and collaboratively together to identify some issues, define those issues, assess them, identify some recommendations on those issues, and come to some agreement on how we address those moving forward. I think all other challenges to the village are secondary. So we've got to find a way to get the functionality of the board up and running in a more positive direction. The good news is, from what I can tell, and doing some past meetings, I think there's a real passion on the village council for city business, for the future of the community, and I believe that passion is in the community as well. So I think everybody's well intended, and I think there's a lot to work with there moving forward. But I think we need to address that moving forward. So I think the second challenge would be, at least in my opinion, would be susceptibility to natural disasters and climate change based on the geographic location of the community. I think that's a regional, national, and global issue, and I think we need to act at a local and a regional level, and I think that would be probably a large upcoming challenge to your community. Third, I would say, is growth management. It appears that growth management, development, how to treat development, is a polarizing issue in the community and on the board. So I think that is a significant challenge moving for you forward. And I've had significant experience in managing development moving forward. So those would be my 3 areas of the challenges that I think that you're facing moving forward.
Thank you. So question number 2, as village manager, what would your priorities be as far as the environment, the community, and special interest groups in politics?
I think I would probably turn that phrase around a little bit. It's not necessarily what my priorities are. It's how do I identify and identify and bring the priorities together for the city council, excuse me, the village council and the community. I think to start with that, I would like to revisit the strategic plan. I think we involve the council, staff, the community as much as possible to focus on a few priorities rather than 14 different focus areas and 30 strategic goals. Some smaller actionable things that we can accomplish and try to get some momentum moving forward. My role isn't so much to determine what those priorities are, it's to identify them, it's to pull them together, it's to flush those out and make sure everybody's on the same page on what those priorities might be. The environment, I think that should weave into any of our discussions, any of our goals moving forward because of the precarious position of the community. So with that, I believe that that's what priorities, the focus should be on those priorities of the community in the village council.
Okay. Now, the next one has a preface. So if you are hired as our village manager, you will be working for a dysfunctional and politically divided village council fraught with personality conflicts in which struggles to compromise and work collaboratively to address the ordinary day-to-day needs of the village government, and has failed to make progress with a strategic plan to address both short-term and long-term threats and opportunities. Also, the tenure of last 3 village managers was short-lived due to resignation or contract non-renewal, and none of the interim managers expressed any interest in applying for the long-term position. Please explain how you plan to succeed in such a challenging employment environment.
First of all, it's a daunting statement. So, and here I am applying for this position. It appeals to me. The challenge of that appeals to me. So, I guess first of all, I wish I could tell you that I had a model that I could come in, we could plug in the pieces, and everything would be fixed moving forward. That's not the case. Every community is different. Characteristics of each community are different. The players involved are all different. What I do have is experience with a number of dysfunctional organizations in my work experience. So just about every job I've had has had some level of dysfunction. That can be dysfunction within the staff, that can be dysfunction between the staff and the elected officials, or that can be dysfunction on the at the elected official level among themselves, which appears to be what we have here. In my experience, it takes a tremendous amount of work, tremendous amount of effort to turn this around. So in my history of working in politically dysfunctional organizations, I had a situation where we had a city council that was fairly well unified together with the exception of the mayor. The mayor had been elected as an outsider coming in, and there was a tremendous amount of distrust between the mayor and the city council, the village council, and very, very much distrust involved. So I was kind of stuck in the middle of that. So in my position, what I attempted to do was provide steady, consistent leadership and provide good information, not discriminating against anyone or not showing favoritism against anyone, and try to earn that trust of those individuals over a period of time. Eventually, it got to that point. We got to the community that would trust the information that I was providing. The city council, the village council provided, trusted the information I provided, and we were able to get a couple of major things done there after that trust was established. So that would be one of my first things, is to work on building up that trust so that we can identify, we can define, and we can assess what those issues are. We can start using information and data to put together recommendations on how we would address those issues, and then take action on that and evaluate that moving forward, so we can go back and make sure that we're doing what we need to do. Only then, I think that get everybody on the same page moving forward once that trust is established. My experience level will also suggest that I have likely faced of the issues that you're facing today, including development pressure. One of the communities I worked in had a tremendous amount of development pressure. They were about 15,000 when I got there, and they were about 28,000 when I left. We had a tremendous amount of effort involved in trying to manage that growth and keep it manageable moving forward, so it wouldn't tax the school districts and it wouldn't overburden the infrastructure involved. So I guess with that said, I think my experience we would use some of the experience that I've had, and we would try to build up the trust with the village council and the community, as well as the staff.
So you have 5 minutes left if you would like to have a closing statement.
I don't really have anything prepared. With that daunting statement that you had read to qualify that question, you're probably wondering why anybody in their right mind would be applying for this position. My wife is asking me that question. I have been looking for an opportunity in a warmer climate. My wife and I absolutely love the Keys. We've been there a couple dozen times. We think you've got a good opportunity there. The challenges of bringing this village council together and working cohesively with staff, in my opinion, is a great opportunity and one that I would value. So at that, I will turn it back over to you. And thank you for the opportunity.
All right, thank you for joining us.
Can I say something?
Excuse me, could we take a break for a minute? I need to excuse myself for just a minute. I know we're running a little bit before. Would you guys mind if we take a break for a
The
minute?
next one's at 6, scheduled for 6. Sure.
What do you want to do? You want to get rid of it?
Yes, we can, Sharon. It's a,
We
who
can
said
do
no?
anything we want.
We can just read the question number 3 without the embellishment. Do we have a consensus for that? Sharon, yes? Mark, you're no because, and Buddy?
Everybody treated the same. They're changing on the fly. We have this in advance.
We're not, it's,
This is not a surprise.
everyone has read that, everyone who's answering.
It's not a surprise.
It doesn't actually matter if we have a consensus that that articulation, that embellishment doesn't have to be read. Henry, do you have an opinion on that?
Yes, I share yours.
So there's a consensus, it looks like, that we
Okay,
don't need to,
Elizabeth, can I say ask who's running the meeting?
I don't know who's running it right
I'm
now.
running the meeting.
Well, could you run it?
Okay.
Yeah, I am, but I let you talk. You wanted to speak, but come on. Yeah, I mean, I think you need to ask permission,
I think
unless
you're
you're the mayor.
I think we're proving the point of the
Yeah.
introduction, the
I think
dysfunction.
this is, I just let you talk because you were talking. All right, so Allison, what do we need to do here? Help us out a little bit.
Okay, so it sounds like there is a consensus that the item should just be read in terms of the last portion, not that it should be removed totally. It could also be summarized and just sort of made a little more concise, but give it's the same question essentially that's going to be asked, but maybe perhaps not the beginning part. But I think the same question can be asked. It's going to relate the same information that was there before.
It'll take us a half an hour to figure out how to rewrite the question.
My question is that we started with it. This first fella had to go through that and answer that question. How can we change it midstream? We started our meeting, and to do this, I don't think that's right.
I agree.
Even with, everything's becoming now a consensus that we're gonna, hey, I think we started it, the people had their questions. Now to change this midstream, I don't think that's amenable. Okay,
So
let's move,
Sharon, you say just continue, okay.
okay, let's continue.
The next one's not slated to start till 6.
Are they on?
They are on, but Councilmember Jolin is not in here.
Okay, but the meeting's rolling. We are live. Yeah, go ahead. Ask the person if they're on.
Absolutely. So
Oh, here she comes.
Okay, let's go.
So the next candidate is Mr. Angelo DiPrio.
Hi, I'm on. This is Angelo DiPiero.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm fine. How's it going on your end?
Good. So why don't you go ahead and start by giving us a little bit of an introduction?
Hey, my name is Angelo DiPiero. I resided in Florida since 1987, and I've worked in the public sector for many years in the capacities of financial management, operations management, compliance, matters of compliance, whether that's federal, state, local statutes. I've also done quite a bit of work in innovation and entrepreneurial talent. Specifically, I work for Palm Beach County government at this time in the Office of Financial Management and Budget. I've created new programs and initiatives that have generated over $75 million in sales, activity, and redistribution value within the county government. I've also implemented radio frequency identification technology countywide, and that will enhance not only the inventory management and control, but also serve to assist risk management in placing insurance, and also to assist us with disaster reimbursement. Much of what I do has been involved with emergency management. Over the last few years, I manage a hurricane shelter for the county during activations, and I'm also assigned to the Family Crisis Intervention Center. In the past, I've worked for the City of New York in the Office of Management and Budget. I was assigned to the Administration of Justice Task Force for several years. We created many innovative programs in New York, including the Police Cadet Corps, as well as the school program to educate and control drug abuse. And all of these programs proved very successful. We also reduced crime in New York substantially by creating new initiatives such as the Warrant Division to target recidivists who commit many crimes during the course of a year when they are not incarcerated. And all of these programs were very successful. I've also worked in the private sector. In academia, I'm an adjunct professor teaching economics, finance, and accounting. And I am also a professional educator certified in the state of Florida.
Great. So what are the top 3 challenges facing Islamorada, in your opinion?
I watched last week's meeting of the council, and I was taken by the problem of communication. I think communication is still the #1 problem throughout many organizations. But what's required in Islamorada is effective communication, where there's no communication noise, where there's transparency, and where everyone understands what the problems are and how to solve them. It's important to focus on solving problems rather than treating symptoms. And beyond that, I think continuity in village management is essential. Kind of the rhetoric that I heard last week and other factors such as emotion-based comments and opinions need to be replaced with facts and details, and also objective analysis and evaluation in order to make proper decisions. Because of the nature of the Florida Keys, conservation is a key issue throughout all of the budget meetings. But what's most important is to understand how the infrastructure has to be developed, economic development has to occur, but it has to be done with conservation in mind. But all of this comes back with communication, how to effectively communicate internally within the organization and also with the community. To partner with all of the businesses, that is all of the people and institutions that make up Islamorada. As the Greek city-states once said, the city is what the people are. And it's important to know what is needed to focus on the issues at hand and to reserve all of the extracurricular activities in order to solve the problems that the people are there for. It is essential for public servants to serve the public and to do so efficiently and effectively.
Great. As village manager, what would your priorities be as far as the environment, the community, special interest groups, and politics?
Again, communication is the key issue there, is to communicate not only with the labor unions, but also with the general public, and to have an open door policy. There are many common issues that affect local governments, and it's key to understand all of the issues that affect the community at large, to focus on the life, health, and safety matters that occur, but also to understand that the environment is a critical component of the Florida Keys, and to do so in a responsible manner. I think it's important for everyone to work together. Teamwork is very essential. I've coached high school football and soccer and participated in sports when I was a younger man. And it's essential to have the teamwork in order to get things done. And you can have differences of opinion. I believe in the democratic process. I believe mixed capitalism, when combined with the democratic process of debate and compromise, is how you accomplish great initiatives. And that's what needs to be done, is to itemize all of the common issues throughout the community, have a workshop with the council to go through those, to discuss the issues with staff, to get their feedback, but also to make sure that we understand the nature of the problem and how to solve them. There are great minds within the local governments, and they have to be tapped. And when you tap the internal workings of the government, you can find solutions that may be elusive when you're dealing just with the upper levels of an organization. So I like to drill down, make everyone a part of the process, When I coached football, I used to like to run the ball into the end zone because everyone is participating in the play and it's a truly team effort. And that's what needs to be done in Islamorada. Special interest groups are always there and they need to be because that's how matters bubble up. Whether you're dealing with the union or whether you're dealing with the tourism industry, you want to hear what they have to offer. And when you combine all of the effects of the different ideas that are being submitted, you can approach them objectively and codify them into an organized way in order to address each concern in an appropriate manner.
Thank you. If you are hired as our village manager, you'll be working for a dysfunctional and politically divided village council, fraught with personality conflicts and which struggles to compromise and work collaboratively to address the ordinary day-to-day needs of the village government, and has failed to make progress with a strategic plan to address both short-term and long-term threats and opportunities. Also, the tenure of last 3 village managers was short-lived due to resignation or contract non-renewal, and none of the interim managers expressed any interest in applying for the long-term position. Please explain how you plan to succeed in such a challenging employment environment.
Well, I think it's unfortunate that the council has been labeled as dysfunctional. I mean, that is the whole point of having independent thought on the council, is to have the debate. And the debate should lead to compromise. And that's the important part, is to bring forth all of the objective analysis and evaluation so the councilors can actually hear all of the points of view. It's very important to have an open mind and to understand that there are many complexities to every particular problem. And in order to solve them, you need to have complex solutions. Nothing is easy. As we say in economics, I taught economics for many years, there's no free lunch. You have to sit down and understand what it is and roll up your sleeves and get to the root of the problem, and then you can solve things. So I think it's important for the council members to debate among themselves, to do so with civility, and I think that's important of all the staff in the organization. There must be civil discourse in order to communicate properly and address the concerns. Now, in terms of being successful, what's really necessary in the organization is to focus on operations management, to make sure that there are countywide policies and procedures in place that define and explain what can be done or what can't be done, to have desk procedures for all the functional activities within the county, so each employee knows what he or she is responsible for on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual basis. And then to flow chart activities so that everyone is understanding responsibilities and duties, and to work across departments, not just within departments. In Search of Excellence was written many years ago by Peters and Waterman way back in the early 1980s. And what they said in that book is true today as it was then, that you have to work across the organization structure in order to solve problems and get things done. No problems that are man-made or insurmountable, and therefore they have to be understood, and mankind can actually fix all of those problems. So I think it's generally important to be on top of the events, to be available, to understand what's happening, to have dialogue and debate, and that's a healthy part of the local government scene. And I would hate to see that go away.
Thank you. You have about 4 minutes left if you would like to give closing remarks.
Well, I appreciate the time and effort you're putting into recruiting a village manager. As I said earlier, I've worked for many years in the public sector with many accomplishments, and I'm very proud of doing all of the things I've done. It has been a great service of mine to work on some major construction projects, but the project I'm most proud of is in New York City. It's the playground for all children. We created a playground wherein handicapped and non-handicapped children can play together on the swing sets and all of the other appliances that are there. And it was such a great success that the city of Boston copied the design and brought it forward. Also, the school program to educate and control drug abuse and creating drug-free zones around schools was a first in the country, and it was copied by the FBI and rotated around the country. So many of the innovations that have occurred throughout America emanated from work that I was involved with, and I'm very proud of that. I'm a low-key guy. I don't jump up and scream and say, hey, look at me, look what I did. But in this forum, I have to do that. So I appreciate what you've done. And no matter how this recruitment goes, I wish you the best of luck and good fortune in the future.
Great, thank you. Tonight's next candidate is Patrick Marsh.
Is that the guy from Port Charlotte?
Good evening.
Good evening, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Why don't you go ahead and start off with a little intro about yourself?
Okay. Well, as you know, my name's Patrick Marsh. I was born and raised in Chicago and in the metro area there. I went to a small liberal arts school for my undergraduate work, Augustana College, where I received my bachelor's in business and public administration. I later went on to Northern Illinois University, received a master's degree in public administration, and I am an ICMA credentialed manager. I began my career working at a regional plan commission in the Illinois-Iowa Quad Cities. I spent 11 years there working on a variety of projects for communities, large and small. I did everything from grant writing to comprehensive planning, strategic planning. I did a lot of work with housing, parks, recreation and open space planning. And I worked with, communities, mostly small communities, on long-range financial planning. One of my areas of expertise in my undergraduate work was business finance. I've served as a finance director in conjunction with my city administrator manager responsibilities over the years. I've also served in the fields of human resources, economic development, planning, all in conjunction with my 19 years of local government management experience. In my 19 years, I've served 4 different communities, village of Coal Valley, Illinois for 3.5 years, city of Monona, Wisconsin for 8 years, city of Fitchburg, Wisconsin for 5.5 years, and just 1 year in Fernley, Nevada. That was due to the election of a new mayor who replaced a long-term tenured mayor of 12 years and wanted to appoint his own manager. So I was a victim of being an at-will employee. The largest community I served is 33,000 people. I had 19 department heads that worked with me. And I had 275 employees and a $49 million budget. That was the operating budget and about $120 million capital budget. So that brings me current to where I'm at today, and I appreciate the opportunity to interview with all of you.
Great. So what are the top 3 challenges facing Islamorada in your opinion?
Yeah, The community of Islamorada faces several unique challenges, primarily due to the geographic location and other factors. The top three challenges that stand out to me are, first of all, housing issues. Islamorada, like many parts of the Florida Keys, faces significant housing challenges. This includes a lack of affordable housing for residents and workers, which is made worse by the high cost of living in the area. The situation is often heightened by the demand for vacation rentals, which can drive up the property values and rental costs, as all of you know, making it difficult to find affordable places to live. Secondly, looking at environmental concerns. You know, being in the Keys, a set of islands, Islamorada is particularly vulnerable to environmental issues such as climate issues, rising sea levels, coral reef degradation, and the community depends heavily on the natural beauty and your ocean or marine resources for tourism and recreation, which are threatened by these environmental conditions. Additionally, the area is prone to hurricanes and other large storms that can cause significant damage to the infrastructure, which we've seen over the years. And then lastly, or I shouldn't say lastly, thirdly, infrastructure and accessibility. The geographic location of Islamorada presents unique challenges in terms of infrastructure and accessibility. Transportation to and from the islands can be a challenge, especially during, a tourist seasons like right now, or in the event of evacuations due to heavy storms. Furthermore, the maintenance and upgrade of this infrastructure, like roads, bridges, water, sewer utilities, are essential but challenging due to the area's isolation and environmental sensitivities. These challenges require comprehensive and sustainable solutions that balance the needs of the local community, the environment, and the economy, especially considering the region's dependence on tourism and your unique ecological significance.
As the village manager, what would your priorities be as far as the environment, the community, special interest groups, and politics?
Yeah, it's a good question. In the role of village manager, I have a long-term background, as I mentioned, in local government management and experience working with various elected bodies. My priorities and approach would address the unique challenges of Islamorada, focusing on the environment, the community, special interest groups, and political dynamics. Here's how I would approach the situation. First of all, the environment. We need to focus on sustainable development that prioritizes environmentally sustainable development practices and ensures the growth and respects the unique ecological factors of Islamorada. Secondly, climate resilience. Implement and enhance measurements for climate resilience, including infrastructure upgrades, emergency preparedness plans, and natural, and other aspects to defend against natural disasters. And then thirdly, conservation initiatives. That's going to be the key in any area that's environmentally sensitive. We need to work closely with the environmental groups and relevant authorities to protect and restore natural habitats, including coral reefs and coastal areas. In regards to the community, affordable housing, we need to depend on independent strategies to address the housing crisis ensuring that there is affordable options for all residents. Public service and infrastructure, we need to improve the public services and infrastructure with a focus on enhancing transportation, healthcare, and environmental and educational facilities. And thirdly, engagement and inclusion. We need to foster a sense of community by encouraging public engagement and making sure this is inclusive in the decision-making process. We also need to look at special interest groups and balance that representation, ensure that the needs and views of various groups are fairly represented. We need to look at partnerships and collaboration, establish partnerships with businesses, not-for-profits, community organizations to leverage the needed resources and expertise. And then finally, transparency and accountability. We need to maintain transparency with all interactions, whether that be internally, with staff, with the elected officials, etc. And then when looking at politics, we really need to build bridges. We need to work towards bridging the divide of the village council through effective communication, conflict resolution, and fostering collaboration. We need to look at strategic planning, and we need to look at stability.
Great. So if you are hired as our village manager, you'll be working for a dysfunctional and politically divided village council fraught with personality conflicts and which struggles to compromise and work collaboratively to address the ordinary day-to-day needs of the village government, and has failed to make progress with a strategic plan to address both short-term and long-term threats and opportunities. Also, the tenure of last 3 village managers was short-lived due to resignation or contract non-renewal, and none of the interim managers expressed any interest in applying for the long-term position. Please explain how you would plan to succeed in such a challenging employment environment.
Yeah, that sounds pretty much like a downer right there. But, you know, I've been in this field as a local government manager for 19 years, and I've worked with a variety of elected bodies. I've worked with rogue mayors. I've worked with rogue council members. And, you know, each opportunity is unique. Each community is unique. But given the history of political division and the short tenure of previous village managers, my approach would involve a strong emphasis on collaborative leadership, strategic planning, building a culture of mutual respect, and teamwork with the village council. And, you know, being a collaborative leader, that teamwork goes a long way. I believe by good, solid communication, ongoing communication, being a good listener from both sides, whether that be the council members or myself, I think we can go a long way towards solving some of these issues. It's essential to create an environment where different perspectives are valued and integrated into a unified vision for the future of the community. This would require patience, diplomacy, and a deep understanding of the local political landscape. Again, I would utilize and leverage my 19 years of experience in the public management field, local government management field, I should say, to get us to the finish line. Succeeding as a village manager in an environment like Islamorada is characterized by unique challenges and a history of short tenures. And we want to end that right away. We want to move to a point where you have a long-term village manager in place that you have trust in, that can get the job done, that the community knows, that's going to be there, you know, is going to be there for a while. It's going to spend a good portion of their career working in your community. I wouldn't use this position as a stepping stone. I would build that trust. I would build those relationships. You know, I've worked in large communities. I've accomplished a lot of my goals in my career. But I see this as a unique challenge, and that's getting the community back on the same page, moving it forward, and benefiting, you know, the residents of the community and making it a great place to live, work, and play.
You have just about 1 minute if you want to add anything in closing.
Okay, sorry about being a little long-winded there. You know, I think I'm the right person for the job. I've successfully managed for 19 years. I've worked in some very difficult political environments. I'm ready to take this on. I'm ready to earn your trust. And I think that's the key. You need a village manager that you can trust, that will move the organization forward to achieve all the goals and all the success that you're doing in your community. I look forward to doing that for you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
The next candidate is Mr. Daniel Fintz.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Good evening. How are you?
Good, Evie. Nice to meet you. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I guess this is the part where I introduce myself. My name is Daniel Finns, originally from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Broward County. I grew up down there. In my youth, I was a ballyhoo fisherman running off the coast of the Keys, Elliott Key, and all the way down to Islamorada. After high school, after graduating from Cardinal Gibbons High School, I attended Auburn University. And while I was in Auburn University studying criminology, I was in the Marine Corps Reserve as an infantryman. And upon graduation from Auburn, I was still in the Marine Corps Reserve. So I kept working odd jobs, trades jobs, even sometimes commercial fishing up in the Northern Virginia area, carpentry, electrical, mechanical, and things of that nature. I got into my local government career shortly thereafter in about 2013, 14, or quasi-local government rather. I was a community and portfolio manager for several HOAs in the Northern Virginia region. For about a year and a half, managing financial analysis, developing agendas, packets, presenting certain things to 8 boards, about 6 boards rather. After that, I moved back down to Florida, South Florida and Central Florida, Broward and Miami-Dade County, being assistant district manager for several special taxing districts, CDDs actually in the South Florida and Broward County region. Same kind of thing, just managing the districts from municipal level. Thereafter, I wanted to really get into full-on local government. So I moved back up to Northern Virginia after 2 years there and receiving my master's in public administration and with honors from Strayer University during my tenure as a district manager for those CDDs. And I got into full-time local government as assistant to the city manager of Manassas Park, Virginia, growing city in Northern Virginia, 17,000 residents, full service city. I was the only assistant for the city manager. It was a new organization. It was in its reorganization stage. So I got a lot of experience there. I was contractual, so I only spent a year there. And then I started my own business, consulting for several local governments in Northern Virginia. Quantico, Virginia, Hamilton, Virginia, Lovettsville, Virginia, and we provided interim town and city management services to those municipalities working on special projects, so on and so forth. And going into my town manager's stint for Lawrenceville, Virginia on an interim basis, I spent 7, 8 months there, consulting and working, acting as the town manager for Lawrenceville, Virginia, which is not in Northern Virginia. It's actually in Southern Virginia, much lower median household income. A lot of challenges there I faced. Thereafter, I spent about 2 years with my consulting firm, a very successful consulting firm. Reached several goals for elected officials, several bodies of town councils in Virginia. I ended up after COVID. There was a lot of things going on in COVID, so I kind of left the industry for a while. Went into private business, or the private sector rather with one of my specialties is building and development. And I worked for a local company, and I expanded their site work and utilities division for a very reputable builder in Northern Virginia, Fugitter Build. And so I expanded their utilities. I worked as a project manager, new business development, and also a skilled tradesman, pipe laying, carpentry, electrical, and things of that nature. I was doing pretty much it all. It's a small group, 10, 15 guys. We're pulling about $8 million in, but I helped them expand their site work and utilities division. Just recently, I got an opportunity to come back to South Florida. I'm very happy to be here. I'm in a couple counties north of y'all, St. Lucie County, and I'm in the engineering division for St. Lucie County, working as a engineering project manager, land use project manager. So that's my history, and very happy and honored to be here. Spent a lot of time down there as a youth, like I said, throwing nets in the water and fishing offshore. I know Islamorada is a sport fishing capital of the world, so honored to be here. So thank you.
Great. So what are the top 3 challenges facing Islamorada, in your opinion?
Well, in my opinion, be honest, I haven't read all the minutes from years past. I've read a few articles, but I'm not very familiar with the inner workings of Islamorada. But from the research I have done, I can tell that you guys, I understand you guys are developing a new strategic plan addressing the mission and the vision of the town itself, addressing the priorities of the council's priorities, determining whether the achievements of those priorities are financially feasible, I think is a challenge to a lot of small local government jurisdictions, and using the metrics in accordance to the tasks of those goals for each department to determine the performance of the staff and where the progress is going from on your priorities themselves. I would say too, not to mimic the last gentleman's interview, but I would say environmental protection, water quality, and hurricane preparedness. I was down there during Hurricane Irma and in 2017. I actually went down through Islamorada, and I saw the damage that Islamorada took, damage to the structures and the community, the effects that it takes to rebuild the communities after hurricanes and several natural disasters in that manner. But so I would be very get more familiar with the hurricane preparedness from that region. I am actually have done a lot of hurricane preparedness in that region with special taxing districts and working in the engineering department. So I'm working with FEMA and definitely get reimbursement for a lot of the projects or the damages that have been had from those hurricanes. But I am, like I said, familiar with special projects and capital projects. And I see you guys have a transmission main replacement project under construction. So I will make sure that the completion of that, as I read, it's halfway through. I will make sure the completion of that is on budget and on time and meets all the federal and state regulations. Thirdly, I would say to protect scarce and protected lands in Islamorada from overdevelopment and development that is not consistent with a comprehensive land use plan would be my third.
Okay. As village manager, what would your priorities be as far as the environment, the community, special interest groups, and politics?
My goal would be to create a professional environment to ensure staff does not involve themselves in politics. And policy is a role of the elected body, and staff's role is to implement that policy, those policies adopted in a professional manner. I am trained as a public administrator, several years of experience as a public administrator. And training includes not engaging in political activity. And my job is to work for not just a single member of the council, but the council as a whole.
Great. So if you're hired as our village manager, you'll be working for a dysfunctional and politically divided village council fraught with personality conflicts, in which struggles to compromise and work collaboratively to address the ordinary day-to-day needs of the village government, and has failed to make progress with the strategic plan to address both short-term and long-term threats and opportunities. Also, the tenure of the last 3 village managers was short-lived due to resignation or contract non-renewal, and none of the interim managers expressed any interest in applying for long-term position. Please explain how you can plan to succeed in such a challenging employment environment.
Well, I'd follow the professional and ethical tenets set forth in the ICA Code of Ethics, including serving in the best interest of all community members, keeping the community informed of local government issues, just to name a few, and not leveraging my position for personal gain. Provide elected officials with technical professional advice about policy options. Would be my answer to that question.
All right, we have about 5 minutes if you want to make a closing statement.
No, I don't have much of a closing statement. I just was alert about this opportunity and happy to have it. Just like to just throw my name in the ring. I think I'd be a great village manager. I have been a town manager. I've worked in several departments, special taxing districts, worked in a lot of facets of local government. Familiar with the area, familiar with the culture down in South Florida, and I do appreciate the opportunity. And I hope you pick me to follow through in the process.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So our next candidate is Christopher Rousseau.
Hello, can you see and hear me?
We cannot see you, but we can hear you.
Well, okay.
There you go.
There we go.
Good evening, how are you?
Good evening. I'm fine, thank you.
If you would like to just start with an intro, that'd be great.
Okay, should be fun. Well, first of all, good evening to everyone, Mayor and Council. My name is Chris Russo. I present myself as a candidate for village manager. I could stand here tonight to tell you all about my work history, education, and professional accomplishments, but that's not what I'm going to do. People do not hire resumes. People hire people. Instead, my objective is to share with you who I am as a professional and as a leader. Thank you.
Perfect. What are the top 3 challenges facing Islamorada in your opinion?
Well, you know, I spent quite a bit of time on that. And frankly, what I came up with and feel that these are included in that might be a little bit more than 3. But when I came across that Islamorada Matters plan, I know there was something that was started some time ago, but I found the 5 items that were in there as very, very important. And my answer to that question is to move forward and keep going with this Matters plan. I think it captures all the important points in my review of this. And that would be my answer, is to move forward and keep going with that Matters plan.
All right. As village manager, what would your priorities be as far as the environment, the community, special interest groups, and politics?
Okay. Spend time on all of this. Well, I'll tell you, when it comes to my relationship with the village council, I cannot promise that I can tackle every single project at the same time, and especially if there is any financial budgetary restrictions. However, I believe that I have the professional aptitude to prioritize projects, work with outside providers to identify funding opportunities, transparency, communicate the progress of community enhancement projects in the following methods. And I think these things are important, are very important to deal with just what you had said on point number 2, periodic written reports or one-on-one meetings with the council members, keep them knowledgeable and communicate everything that I know. And of course, in the beginning, it would take a number of months. I'll be learning from them. Presentations in council meetings and community newsletters and keeping on top of what's happening. That's what I would say about that question.
Okay. If you are hired as our village manager, you will be working for a dysfunctional and politically divided village council fraught with personality conflicts in which struggles to compromise and work collaboratively to address the ordinary day-to-day needs of the village government, and has failed to make progress with a strategic plan to address both short-term and long-term threats and opportunities. Also, the tenure of the last 3 village managers was short-lived due to resignation or contract non-renewal, and none of the interim managers expressed any interest in applying for the long-term position. Please explain how you plan to succeed in such a challenging employment environment.
Wow. Well, I want to tell you something about that. I've thought about these quite a bit. Oh, and by the way, I was there last Wednesday. I took a day, I'm only 2 hours away from you, and last Wednesday, I spent the day in Islamorada, met some nice people, saw great Founders Park, unbelievable, and looked at a lot of other areas too, with canals and things. But I'll leave that aside to answer this question. Well, let me tell you, in my career, and I'll get to a little bit about how long that's been at the end. I've managed to do what you just said. I have, in every position I have had, I've taken the manager position after the previous manager was either terminated or resigned. My whole career, every position I've had, not that I've had a ton of them, but I've had a number of them. You've got my resume. And in every situation, I had come in turmoil. So I've got a good experience. References will definitely prove that. I've got 2 or 3 mayors in those references, and some and other officials too, if you would like them. And that made a big, I think that made a big impact for me to be able to deal with that. I mean, I've had a, I've always kept try to have a good relationship with the village council and work with them. But I can tell you that was the main thing is always communicating and working with the elected officials.
Okay, you have just about 8 minutes if you would like to make any closing remarks.
I would like to say that, just to give you a little bit more on me, I have over 30 years of experience as a manager. I'm a dedicated and loyal employee. I'm a team-oriented leader that supports and challenges staff. While we should not change things that are not broken, I am a firm believer in identifying room for improvement in processes, procedures, and individuals. I look forward to working with the council and department heads to finish the projects that you've started, to bring fresh ideas that will continue to make this a wonderful village that it is and continue that. If you select me as your manager, I will always represent the village with the utmost professionalism and pride. And I do thank you for the opportunity. I believe that my career has been a real kind of wide area here. Born and raised in Westchester County, New York. First two positions there. One was a new incorporation, and then came down to Florida by a new incorporated city, and Merritt Steerheim. Some of you may know him as the former Miami-Dade County manager. He's the one that pulled me out of New York. He knew me through the International City Managers Association. We would speak at all the meetings all over the country for years. And he knew new incorporations in New York are very rare, very difficult, very political. And I was there for 14 years, and him pulling me down to Miami-Dade County, he did it. And I've been here since the year 2000. I took a leave for 7 years only because I got a very good opportunity in the private sector, then came back in 2012. And then when I saw this position opened, I was very interested. I had spent time down going through the Keys. My daughter used to like to scuba dive in right near Islamorada, and we'd go out to Key West every once in a while. So I jumped on this when it happened. That's what I have to say.
All right, thank you. So our next candidate is Mr. David Couch, but he's not slated to be on until 7:30, and he is not currently on Zoom. So if we want to start our break early, and then I'll monitor Zoom, and if he comes, I'll let you know, unless there's other.
Want her to see if there's anybody else that's on, that could we come back to him?
He's on as an attendee. Marnie says he's on as an attendee. We'll promote him.
Okay. After that. We could take a break after this guy, if he's.
Okay.
He's on?
Perfect. So the next candidate is Mr. David Couch. Pull him up. We're a little bit ahead of schedule, which is always a beautiful thing. I'm not.
One of those. They're cinnamon, they're pretty hot. I can't find them, though. I can't find them only in certain stores. Yeah.
Okay.
We're good, Vince?
I sent him a text to let him know.
You gotta change the name.
Is that? Why is this?
after him, yeah. Right? Yeah.
So he is available. He's available, we're just waiting for IT.
Oh. He's on.
Yeah. Why don't you see if he's,
Okay, Mr. David, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Do you hear me?
Oh, there you are. Perfect.
Okay.
How are you tonight?
Good, good. How are you guys?
Good. Thank you for being available. We're a little bit ahead of schedule.
I
Why
was
don't you go
watching
ahead
the
and
link
start?
that you had and had to switch over.
Why don't you go ahead and start with your intro?
Sure. Thank you all for having me and allowing me the opportunity to interview. I appreciate that, and welcome to all the folks maybe that might be watching from other locations. My name is David Couch. I live in the city of Virginia Beach in Virginia. It's a coastal town, very similar to Islamorada, not completely similar, but have a lot of similar characteristics. It's a coastal community on the Atlantic Ocean, and also we have a community close to us that has other similar characteristics, which is the Outer Banks. Myself, my education is I have a bachelor's degree in finance. I have an MBA with the concentration of public administration from Old Dominion University. I have 30 years of municipal experience in local government. I have had a variety of hats in leadership capacities, budget management, financial management, economic development, planning, and the like. I have a big bulk of my career has been in the finance realm and also economic development in the finance area. I've worked with developing budgets, developing CAFRs, and the like, and managing those daily operations. In economic development, I have worked in every style of development project, from the marketing end to the development end, in every industry sector, from projects from just very small two-people shops to companies that have hired over 2,500 employees. I've traveled extensively domestically to every major market. I've traveled to Europe, to most major markets there, and have been very successful in locating projects to our community. I had transitioned to an administrative role in the planning department to help them at a time of need, working with permits and inspections, development, zoning, and general administration, comp plan development. I have extensive knowledge and strategic plans. I've worked in developing a variety of strategic plans, marketing missions, work plans. On a personal note, been married for almost 30 years. I have 2 adult children who have left the house and onto their own lives. I've been to Florida myself countless times. We have family and friends that both live down in the Florida area. I've been to the Keys probably 25 times in my life. Love it down there. And just to give you some kind of flavor for why I'm looking to potentially take the opportunity with Islamorada, is because right now as I'm talking to you, it's about 45 degrees here and it's very nice where you are. So that's a quick introduction and ready for the next thing.
All right, so what are the top 3 challenges facing Islamorada in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the major challenges for Islamorada is balancing development with the conservation and preservation of your open space land and also the marine environment. That's very hard to do. Islamorada is a string of islands, and they're not making any more new land. You want to preserve your environment the best you possibly can because it's gorgeous down there. But also, too, you have development needs, from residential development needs to business development needs. And that's a hard balance. And you have to look to how you can do that through land acquisition and preservation, regulation, monitoring the environment, and also looking at the development opportunities that possibly either with existing sites, how you can maximize existing sites, have sustainable development, and also possibly redevelopment opportunities. That would be my my lead one. The other one would be the community resiliency. And what that means is how do you prepare yourself against sea level rise, threats of storms? Obviously, Florida is a big spot for hurricanes and other storm related damage. And how would you plan to prepare the community for that through appropriate community planning, public safety measures, infrastructure developments such as roads, drainage systems, seawalls, and the like to help to mitigate and eliminate the threat of personal harm and property damage. And just a little side note on that, I've worked with FEMA here in Virginia Beach. We've had a couple different hurricane events ourselves, and I've had the opportunity to work with FEMA on a couple different storm events we've had here. Third would be the challenge with availability of affordable and workforce housing, and looking how you can maximize those opportunities through existing developable sites and also, again, with redevelopment of existing structures. Those would be my three.
Great. As village manager, what would your priorities be as far as the environment, the community, special interest groups, and politics?
Well, first, it would be working with the council to find out how they see the vision to move forward with working with these various subsets. Council takes the lead on strategic visioning for the community and what they see would be the priorities within those areas. And also try to build collaboration and consensus amongst the council members and the community on how to do that. But obviously, within the environment, you want to look at conservation and preservation of the natural environment that's down there, to include possible land acquisition and regulation, and also education of what the environment is like. And for the community, you want to provide a safe community and also make sure that services are provided timely and appropriately wherever possible. And you want to do that through open and transparent government, and make sure you're engaged with the citizens at every possible opportunity. And for special interest groups, you want to listen to them, listen to their concerns and their issues, and what they can do to assist the community that you're working for. And you want to also offer assistance to them when their visions are aligning with Islamorada's visions. So I think those are very good. And as in terms of politics, you serve at the will of the council, and you want to work with your staff to make sure that we're supporting the council in the best appropriate way. But do not get engaged with, you want to listen to every council member and what their concerns are, but you want to work with them through a strategic visioning and the development of a strategic plan so that your staff can actually execute that vision, that consensus vision on behalf of council.
Great. If you are hired as our village manager, you will be working for a dysfunctional and politically divided village council, fraught with personality conflicts and which struggles to compromise and work collaboratively to address the ordinary day-to-day needs of the village government, and has failed to make progress with the strategic plan to address both short-term and long-term threats and opportunities. Also, the tenure of last 3 village managers was short-lived due to resignation or contract non-renewal, and none of the interim managers expressed any interest in applying for long-term position. Please explain how you plan to succeed in such a challenging employment environment.
Yes, that's a big statement and a big question. How we go about it would be, one, to obviously maintain open lines of communication at all times, and to actively listen to the various council members and the council as a whole, as in terms of what they want. Obviously, being honest is one of my traits. I like to be as honest as possible without being threatening or intimidating or insulting. I also want to make sure that there's open lines of communications not only between me and the council, but also between council and the citizenry, to make sure that they have the opportunity to hear from the citizens at every opportunity and appropriate opportunities, to make sure that they are listening to what the concerns or the issues of the citizens are, so they can work together to answer those concerns and issues that the citizens may have. Also, too, I want to create opportunities for council to have workshops, town hall meetings, open houses, and work groups with maybe staff, but also with the citizens as well. You want to work, and we all value diversity, but we have to come to a point where we have consensus building. And we want to take that opportunity when we have consensus to memorialize that with a strategic vision for the village. And that strategic vision is a roadmap for me and staff to execute that vision for council for the betterment of the citizenry. So that's how I would approach it. Now, obviously, there's a lot of nuances, and we can probably talk hours just on any aspect of any of these questions. But those are the general overviews that I would use to approach that.
Great. You have about 4 minutes if you'd like to make any closing remarks.
Sure. One, again, thank you for the opportunity. I've had the opportunity to listen to some of the other candidates, and they all had very good input. But I know that I would be an ideal fit for Islamorada and council. And I will look forward to the opportunity to come and visit, and you meet me in person, possibly meet my wife as well, and see how we could all work together to take Islamorada to the next century. So thank you.
Thank you.
Is Mr. Cole on, or when's he scheduled?
7:45. Yeah. We were supposed to have a break, but is Mr. Cole on? Yeah, we don't see him. He's not on.
Yeah, anybody else of the other two that are Mr. Brillhart or?
Ventresco has a council meeting, and he requested to be at the very end. Yes, and he might not make it. All right, let me see if I can get Robert Cole.
Well, council, do we want to take a break, or do we want to see if we can get one of these other? Yeah, keep going so we can get out of here at a decent hour.
Try to get one more. Yeah, I'm in favor of trying to get one more.
Okay, I agree, Henry. We all okay with that? Oh, he's still there, yeah.
Yeah, can you get him off screen?
There we go.
There you go. Yeah, I sent him a message to see. Mr. Cole has requested 5 minutes for him to, before he can hop on.
Okay. You want to wait 5 minutes? Or are we on a break? We okay? Yeah. Okay. Oh, Terry wanted to know if you wanted popcorn. Yeah, I don't know where he is, but he asked me if you wanted it, he'd make it. Okay, let me go see if he's back.
I talk to her
Okay.
every day.
All right. So the next candidate is Mr. Robert Cole.
Hi, everyone.
Good evening. How are you?
Look at the back.
That's fine. Very nice to see each of you tonight.
So why don't you go ahead and start with a bit of an intro?
Sure. I'm a city management professional that has over 25 years of experience. My career started in Oak Park, Illinois. It was a community of about 52,000 residents, a very active and engaged community. And there I played several different roles, having first started at a building permit counter and grew up in that organization, ultimately to become an assistant village manager through a series of successive promotions. Toward the end of my career in Oak Park, which was about 19 years, my children actually transitioned out of high school and on their own lives in college and beyond. And that gave me an opportunity to look for other opportunities. And I identified Scarsdale, New York as a place I'd like to work, and ultimately competed for a deputy village manager appointment and was successful in doing so, having worked in that role for about 6 years prior to becoming their village manager for 2 additional years. So that is a quick synopsis of my path to where I'm at now. And along the way, I've picked up a great deal of experience that I believe will be very relevant to helping Islamorada achieve its long-term and short-term goals.
Great. What are the top 3 challenges facing Islamorada in your opinion?
Well, you know, the website pretty much lays them out as workforce and affordable housing, capital project planning for stormwater, and conservation land acquisition. You know, having taken a look, though, at the 2017, I believe it was, the 2023 strategic plan, Islamorada Matters, and the environmental sustainability plan, I'd say it's a little bit broader in that, you know, there's effectively 3 buckets that are very important on a moving forward basis. One being land use, and that ties to workforce and affordable housing, of course. 2, infrastructure, and that obviously captures the capital project planning for stormwater, plus a little bit more, including things like dealing with pedestrian safety and other infrastructure needs, buildings and what have you, and the environment generally. There's a lot of different environmental dimensions that are of critical import to Islamorada and the community on a moving forward basis.
As village manager, what would your priorities be as far as the environment, the community, special interest groups, and politics?
Well, as a city county management professional, I refrain from participating in politics, so I'll say that right off the bat. But most importantly, if I were to hit the ground in Islamorada as the new village manager, I'd like to make sure that I get out and meet people, hear, you know, what they think about what's been working, what hasn't been working, and how to best move forward. That includes members of the community, the business community, the residents, the staff, of course, and I'd like to, you know, have one-on-ones with as many people as I can to really get a feel for the local context and how my skills and background can really help to make quality of life all of those particular stakeholders believe it should and needs to be. Above and beyond that, I'd like to work with the city council to see if we can really help to improve both council relations and those with the manager. I think we need to operate as a cohesive team. And I think that, you know, reflecting back on the prior question of high priorities, that one would rank very highly as well, because, you know, in order for us to best represent the community's short-term and long-term needs, we have to really work cohesively and effectively. So I'm a great listener. I want to hear what needs to be done from everyone's perspectives, and then help to use that information and make recommendations back to council, and perhaps, you know, do some team building exercise at that level as well, because, you know, elected officials aren't in office for very long. I think you guys have 2-year terms, and everyone wants to accomplish something during their terms. And in order to do that, we really do have to operate together as a team. And I would treat that as a very high priority, cultivating trusting, respectful relationships, and focus on achieving some of the shorter and longer term goals that are very important to the community.
Great. If you're hired as our village manager, you'll be working for a dysfunctional and politically divided village council fraught with personality conflicts in which struggles to compromise and work collaboratively to address the ordinary day-to-day needs of the village government, and has failed to make progress with a strategic plan to address both short-term and long-term threats and opportunities. Also, the tenure of the last three village managers was short-lived due to resignation or contract non-renewal, and none of the interim managers expressed any interest in applying for the long-term position. Please explain how you would plan to succeed in such a challenging employment environment.
Well, first of all, I'd like to understand, the root cause of some of that dissension that you've described there. I think that involves meeting with each of the council members and the mayor individually as groups, trying to work through any differences, identify pathways forward. I think I watched a recent council meeting where there was discussion of a retreat. That could very well be a great idea to get everyone together and really talk about, what made you want to get into office, for instance, and how can we use that motivation and that inspiration that drove you to public service to cultivate outcomes that really help to improve Islamorada's future and maintain its current status. I mean, when I think of Islamorada and the times that I've either passed through or visited, to me, it's a spectacular and wonderful place. And to be able to work there, live there, and help people to live their best lives would be, to me, a lifetime dream of sorts. And so to the extent that there's a lack of cooperation or coordination, I think, just trying to understand one another's perspectives, their viewpoints, and seeing if there's a way to honor our commitments to public service, to honor our commitments to service to the community, and really begin to row it as one in the same direction. I understand that's a little bit aspirational, perhaps, in what's been described as the current state. But talking, listening, revisiting underlying motivations for public service, I think, are all very good things, and a retreat and/or team building exercises may help to head things in the right direction. But it's critical, of course, to the success of any short, long-term planning or even day-to-day operations, because operating in a environment of angst and potential chaos is not good for your staff. It's not good for the community, and you're not going to be achieving many goals at all if we can't get past that. So I'm really anxious to help the council forge a path forward and return to productive public service.
You have about 7 minutes left if you want to give any closing statements.
I welcome any additional questions that anyone has. I don't really have a closing statement apart from the fact that I'm very anxious to serve the Islamorada community. I think I'd be a great fit. I'm a lifetime fisherman, so on the personal side of the equation, I would absolutely love to live and work in Islamorada. And incidentally, my wife's father, he was a fisherman by trade her entire life. So being in a fishing community would be great. And the challenges that Islamorada is confronted with, I think I have a very strong suite of personal background and professional background that would help me to, one, be able to listen well to people and understand what their concerns are when it comes to environment, when it comes to land use and transportation, when it comes to each of the key factors we've talked about in all of your reports that are important to the future of Islamorada. So I think as we maybe drill down into my background and experience a little bit further in a future round, if I'm successful in making that stage, I'd be happy to really talk more in detail about how that background dovetails nicely with your needs.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Michael Brillhart on? Because he said he would be on.
Is Engelmeyer, am I done or?
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Can you mute?
Virginia, New York. Yeah.
He was my first choice for a long time.
Evie, did we tell him that we're finished?
It does.
Okay, Mr. Cole, okay.
And Mr. Brillhart I am in contact with them, he is getting on.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you. Man, that popcorn, I can smell it all. Henry, did you bring your own sandwich tonight?
I did.
You did, huh?
I'm done. Done.
While we're waiting for Mr. Brillhart to get on, the reason why Mr. Ventresco was at 8 or after 8 is because he has his own council meeting and is not available before 8. So we'll have to come to a conclusion on whether we wait for him. Do we move forward with the individuals we've already interviewed?
We can share it.
We'll share it, yeah.
Thank you.
I guess we better save this for the popcorn.
Huh?
We gotta save that. I don't know where to put
I'll
this.
put mine in here. It's pretty clean.
I'll eat there.
Oh, I don't care. You wanna finish this up? No.
I'm done.
Okay. Christina, who I'm referring to, she used to do seminars on communications. Her client list included
What's that? What's the last thing you said? What was the last thing you said? Her clients included?
General Motors, NASA. She's written books on this subject. And one thing she doesn't like me to say, but she was a speechwriter for the Prime Minister of Canada.
How'd you meet her?
We were both doing a show in Vegas, and her show broke, my show broke, same hotel. I just said to her, "Have you had dinner?" She said, "No." Boom. So that's it. She saw my first show, not my first show, first time she saw it. She says, "You gotta make one change." I said, "What's that?" She says, "You come out and you say, 'Good evening, boom, 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 boom. My name is Bastille,' which is what I use." She says, "You gotta change that." I said, "I've been doing it for years." She said, "When you say your name is something,
That's the one he got fixed.
that's like putting a label on a can of peas. That's all it is a label."
Yeah.
She said, "I want you to come out and say, 'Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Bastille.'"
Oh,
That's the
rather
tip.
than my name is.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Slight, just a
That's
slight
pretty
change.
good.
But she's,
I mean, that's pretty subtle, but pretty powerful.
yeah.
So is that what you did?
I changed it. She was doing a hypnosis show at the time. We worked together 5 times, maybe.
did?
Yeah, maybe 5 times. She's kind of critical of me.
Why?
Well, because she knows more than I do. Theatrically, here we had, what was that?
Okay, one more time. Before Mr. Brillhart, he's fallen victim to what everyone has, where you go to load Zoom and it needs to do an update. So he's going to be he's a few seconds behind. Mr. Fred Ventresco, he had his own council meeting because he is currently employed that goes until a minimum of 8 p.m. That's why he was slated as my last. He is very aware that we could potentially move quicker than he would be available for. We would like to point out too, he is one of the individuals that had one vote. So I'm not sure if we want to wait for him to join, which would be after 8 p.m., or how the council's pleasure would be to move forward with that.
What's the earliest we could get out of here?
Would be until 8. We'd have to,
So if we do not wait for Mr. Ventresco, it would be after Mr. Brillhart's interview. If we wait for Mr. Ventresco, he's not answering my text messages, but that's because he's in a meeting. He's in a council meeting. He was hoping, and he says they generally end around 8 p.m. So it's this will probably be around 7:45 we could adjourn, or we can wait for him. Those are the two options.
can we wait and see what time we get through with Mr. Brillhart and make that decision?
Absolutely.
That's good.
Okay.
Perfect. Mr. Brillhart?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening.
Good evening. We can hear you, but we cannot see you.
Hello?
You can see him on there?
Oh,
IT?
okay.
Oh.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you tonight? Thank you for hopping on
I'm
early.
well, thank you.
It's going to be delayed. Yep.
Need this?
So why don't you go ahead and start with an intro?
Hi, my name.
We're not picking you up clearly. I'm
Michael
being
Brillhart.
told it might be the connection on your end.
He doesn't have the bandwidth.
I live in Wapakoneta, Ohio. Home of
Oh, there you are.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. We did not hear
How
anything
are you?
said prior to this.
I think we've made a connection. Yes, I can now.
Okay, why don't you start your intro over again?
Well, again, my name is Michael Brillhart. Thank you. My name is Michael Brillhart. I'm from Wapakoneta, Ohio, home of Neil Armstrong, America's first person to walk on the moon, and I serve as their city administrator. We've been doing local government management now for about 20 years. First started out in the state of Florida, working as a capital projects manager, and have been doing this. And I really like the Keys. I've spent a lot of time there, and so when this opportunity in your community popped up, I thought am I better now on vision and audio? Can you hear me now?
It seems to be the connection on your end. If you can try to turn off your video so that we can get a stronger stream for the voice call.
How is that? How is that?
That's better.
That's better. Let's go ahead and start your intro again, please.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Brillhart. I work and live in Wapakoneta, Ohio, home to former astronaut Neil Armstrong, and I work in public management, have done so for about 20 years. Enjoy the opportunity to serve my residents and council. Interested in your village, have been to the Keys several times and have worked in Florida for 20 years. Appreciate the opportunity to meet with you this evening and for you to find out a little bit more about me.
Great. So what are the top 3 challenges facing Islamorada in your opinion?
Well, similar to other communities in Florida, there's always a balance that's needed between the environmental protection and future development. That's one of the key issues that you're facing and have been for a while and probably will continue to do so. The second issue is staff morale, making sure that staff feel usable and appreciated. And the third thing being the key communication and the relationship between staff, council, and the community as a whole.
As village manager, what would your priorities be as far as the environment, the community, special interest groups, and politics?
My priority as far as the environment is to ensure 2 things. Number one, that stormwater management issues are addressed effectively. And I've got about 15 years experience in managing stormwater issues, particularly in the state of Florida. The second component of an environment is to ensure that our land development code meets the needs of the community as a whole in maintaining the relationship between development interests and those residents that have lived there for years and who are not pro-development. On the community side, wanting to make sure that we are doing everything we can as a community to ensure that we're growing in a substantive manner that includes maintaining relationships with our legislative officials, our lobbyists in the state of Florida, along with those residents within Monroe County, including the county government. The special interest groups, one of the things that I do and enjoy doing is listening to them to understand their concerns, being able to put together a game plan that the community can take hold of, and put together a long-term plan that would resolve the issues being brought forth by the special interests. In politics, well, listening is the key ingredient. I've had experience dealing with elected officials and community officials who do not necessarily agree. And so my priority would be listening to all parties, coming together on those issues that I know are key to moving forward and to resolving those issues that are bringing the entity apart.
If you are hired as our village manager, you will be working for a dysfunctional and politically divided village council fraught with personality conflicts in which struggles to compromise and work collaboratively to address the ordinary day-to-day needs of the village government and has failed to make progress with a strategic plan to address both short-term and long-term threats and opportunities. Also, the tenure of last 3 village managers was short-lived due to resignation or contract non-renewal, and none of the interim managers expressed any interest in applying for the long-term position. Please explain how you plan to succeed in such a challenging employment environment.
I'm reminded of the analogy, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And that's how you break down dysfunction, is you look at those small pieces of the puzzle, you work together to do one step at a time each day, you reach resolution on a couple of issues. That gives you trust and determination in the ability to work together. And then you move forward on a short-range plan. After a short time, when things are accomplished, then you work on putting together a longer-range plan that requires trust development, building of collaboration, and bringing forward success among the community. I do have experience working in jurisdictions where there's been turnover in administration. So I'm familiar with those types of environments and how to move forward accordingly.
You have about 9 minutes left if you would like to provide any closing information.
Appreciate the opportunity to talk with you this evening. I'm wondering if you have questions for me.
No, not during this session.
He's the only one that asked.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So that concludes everyone that I was able to get a hold of. Like I said, Mr. Ventresco is in a council meeting that he believes would end around 8 p.m.
Okay. We want to wait for him, council?
I feel badly that we've kind of set this up and then we, surprise him with, well, we're going to do it later. I mean, if you want to do it, that's okay, but doesn't feel right to do it that way.
To do what's that?
All candidates were briefed on the schedule and the fluctuation of schedule possibilities.
I mean, we have some time to talk amongst ourselves. I mean, there's nothing that says we can't do that. And we have, we're here, you guys want to try to move the ball forward. And I don't know if you want to.
Or do we want to take a break?
We could take a break. I think we have.
All right, you want to take a break for 10 minutes then while we're waiting on him, or longer? All right, Henry, you okay with that?
Give him a chance.
Yeah, all right. So we'll take a break. break. And Evie, you told us that this last fellow is still in his council meeting, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
I just asked for clarification on if he is going to be able to join us or if he is formally withdrawing.
Okay. All right, so if you want to wait a minute for that, let's open public comment up then. Any public comment? Okay, no public comment? Yeah, no. Public comment is closed then? All right. So council, do we just want to, since he's already told you best of luck?
Yes.
What's the will of the council here, that do we adjourn or?
Did we say we would wait until 8 o'clock?
It's 8:01, and he says that there's no end in sight, that it's a post-election meeting, and there's been extra discussion. He really cannot leave. I really appreciate you trying. Best of luck.
Well, maybe tomorrow you can reach out to him and see if that meant goodbye forever, or... Yeah, I don't understand what that means, and I'd just like to afford him a chance if he wants it. If that's what he meant, is
Well, I
good luck,
had
goodbye.
another candidate who was completely unable to make it tonight, and I basically told him if we were to move forward with the narrowing down of the list, that there would be no other virtual opportunity.
You did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, do I hear an adjournment then? Okay.
Okay, I guess we're done.
Somebody second it?
He did formally withdraw.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.